So sitting there in a diaper isn't proof enough? Loretta asked. No, Rupert said and added, if you're a witch you need to do something that proves to me you are what you say you are. You realize how silly that is, Loretta said before adding, considering what has happened to you already. Nevertheless, if you want my cooperation, you're going to have to convince me you are what you say you are, Rupert said and added, like do you have brooms or that sort of thing? Brooms? Really, Rupert? All right, I'll prove it then. Tell you what, let's at least make this interesting. When was the last time you saw pleasure? Loretta asked. Excuse me? Say what? Rupert said. I asked you when was the last time you felt pleasure, Loretta asked and added, a simple question. You can answer that, can't you? Actually, never mind. That doesn't really need an answer and you are a very naughty little boy. The chair scraping the floor was the next sound in the room as Rupert kicked it back a little. The shock on his face said it all. What the hell? Rupert said, pushing back on his chair as both hands gripped the chair's edge. Rupert looked down at his diaper, startled. That changed to a glassy-eyed look instantly as his legs kicked out independently, first the left then the right. Both legs stiffened, extended fully then spread widely as Rupert arched his back while his eyes closed tightly. His toes curled. Anyone looking on would have guessed he was being electrocuted. A second later he moaned as his eyes remained tightly closed. After a moment there was another moan, deeper, more guttural. He arched again, not as much, and released. Then another moan, quieter, then suddenly Josh relaxed, and collapsed. There was silence for a time with no other sound but Rupert breathing, heavily, deeply, quickly but slowing. Holy crap, Rupert whispered as his breathing reached nearly normal. How'd I do? I mean on a scale of 1 to 10 for prove it to me, from where am I sitting? Did I make it to 10? I mean, do you need more proof? I'd have to fluff you a little, but I think I could get it up again, and there is a trick from the backside but you might not like that one, Loretta asked softly as Rupert began composing himself or trying to. Rupert had withered like a soft sheet of tissue paper dropped in a gentle breeze. It was as if he no longer had any bones. For a few minutes it was as if his endorphins ran amok and left him laying on a bed of soft cushiony warm clouds. He didn't want to talk. She gently shoved a soft layer at him and suddenly he wanted desperately to suck a bottle or pacifier, anything, and then her face hovered close and the sensations were gone. The pacifier she had purchased came out and she held it in front of him. He tried to fight it but it was impossible as he reached for it. He took hold, turned it so the brown rubber bulb was facing him. He looked at her pleading, but she only grinned as he brought it to his lips. His cheeks went crimson and warmed. The humiliation of a baby's pacifier in his mouth was too much as she made it worse as she patted the front of his diaper. He held the pacifier's ring, pushing the soft rubber nipple into his mouth and began to nurse. She moved closer, kissed his nose. They sometimes call these soothers because it calms a baby that's fussy. Are you still fussy, Rupert? Do you still need proof? Anyway, while you're calming yourself it might help to know that as a practicing witch I'm capable of certain powers. That sensation in your diaper I'm patting right now was one of those. That was the power over those particles I have. This power, the power to make you nurse that adorably cute pacifier like a woman's teats so aggressively as you're doing, is another. It really is cute, by the way. Which, if you didn't know, is why they make these things with that mouth shield. Can you imagine, with the pressure you're sucking, with what would happen without it? So, those are two of my powers as a witch. The third, by the way, was the one I've been trying to tell you about till you scoffed. Now then, I have a few more examples I can use, but why don't I pause here and maybe you and I can sort of take a mental inventory and see where we're at, Loretta said and then added, okay. Rupert immediately was free and removed the pacifier. All he could do was look at it. The rubber nipple was dripping with saliva as he looked at Loretta. How the hell did you do that? Rupert managed to gasp out. A minor probe up to your prostate gland. Yes, I can do that too, and a few other things. It's been a long time since I've played with a man, Loretta said and then added, but some of it's coming back. I'd need to practice more. Okay, maybe it is too harsh a word and I guess I'd be willing to let you practice, Rupert said dreamily. Never mind that, I did all that to prove I was a witch, because we've got other issues, Loretta asked and then added, so do you believe me? Yes, Rupert said as he tried to hand the pacifier back to Loretta. Keep that, Loretta said getting up. She went to a drawer, rummaged for a moment, found spool of string she was looking for and took it. A moment later she hung it around his neck as she added, I may want to punish you later. So you really are a witch, Rupert said. Rupert, Loretta warned. No, it's not a question. Just amazed is all, Rupert said. Fair enough. Now then. Since you haven't eaten, I'm guessing you're hungry, Loretta asked. No, not yet. Yes, I'm hungry, but I'm sort of not ready to eat yet, Rupert said, still savoring that incredible 3 or 4 minutes he'd just had. So what were you going to be having for dinner? Loretta asked. Microwave-able something, Rupert said. Mind something cooked? It's the least I can do, Loretta said. Okay, Rupert said and added, so you really are a witch? All my life, Loretta said. Witch Loretta? Seriously, you call yourself Witch Loretta? Rupert said, snickering at the play on words as he began to relax. You do realize that? I mean, fundamentally, it's probably not a good idea to make fun of a witch, Loretta said. Oh shit. I didn't mean to say shit. Wait. Look, wait, hold it. Please don't do anything rash. I'm sorry. It just struck me as funny, Rupert said, putting his hands up as if to ward off a blow. Relax. I've been teased over that all my life. My mother had a horrible sense of humor. I had a birthmark in the shape of a hazelnut and it didn't become funny till she herself first used it on me. Loretta came over with a glass of juice and sat it down in front of Rupert. Loretta's house overlooked the valley. It sat higher by 15 feet with a huge hedge between her and the neighbor on the left and nothing but a hill on the right. Privacy assured, Rupert mused. This place is nice, Rupert said and then, thanks, as he held up the juice. So what do you do, Rupert? Loretta asked, pulling her own juice out of the refrigerator. Engineering student, Rupert said. Where are your books? Loretta asked. I was out of class. Weekend, Rupert said and added, left them in my room, still in my backpack. Got it, Loretta answered as she opened her juice and asked, hungry? Why, I guess I am. I mean, how long before I can get my clothes back? This diaper is feeling kind of weird, Rupert said and then added, actually it's getting kind of soaked. I put the diapers in my family room with a comforter on the floor for you. Clothes won't take more than another 15 minutes to wash, perhaps another 40 to 50 to dry. Loretta said as she moved to the large windows overlooking the valley. She had placed everything strategically so she could watch Rupert change his diaper in the reflection without projecting. Rupert grabbed another diaper from the bag and the baby powder and went into the family room to lay on the comforter. Might use the wipes this time, Rupert, Loretta said, breaking into his thoughts as she added, get that urine off before you powder. Loretta was closing her eyes to the soft hints of pleasure suddenly sweeping over her as she added, and use lots of powder. Your urine is very acidic. Okay, Rupert said. His frustration was lessening as he focused on the end of it all. Standing with a fresh diaper in his hand made it slightly different than it had been when he was sitting in the car. Rupert went down on his knees, turned, sat and lifted the seal on the baby wipes. Something about being in a diaper on a large white quilted nylon comforter made the whole thing surreal. Rupert wasn't expecting this and glanced guiltily over at Loretta to see if she was seeing it. She was in the kitchen, so he was sure she wasn't watching. Rupert had opened his second diaper, untapped the first and lay over the fresh one before picking up the baby wipe. Loretta moaned in near silence, fighting the urge to push Rupert just a little. Had she been willing and didn't care much for Rupert's feeling, she could exaggerate his time in diapers easily. There were other chances that could make him helpless, and the best one would make him love wearing diapers, but she rejected them all. She suddenly wanted this conquest to be hers and hers alone, and as a woman and not as a witch. Rupert laid the baby wipe on top of his soiled diaper and opened the baby powder as he sat and then lay over his diaper. He was desperate to hide it, worried that Loretta would see it and think he liked diapers. The baby powder falling on a now very sensitive tip only exaggerated the sensations, and it only got worse when the powder reached his nose as Rupert brought the diaper over him. "What a baby you are," Rupert whispered as he bent his head to see himself taping the diaper closed. "Are you really hungry?" Loretta asked, not looking over at Rupert. She could have taken care of that instantly, she mused, and his next diapering would be thrilling, for both of them. "I am," Rupert said, breaking his thoughts and becoming seriously self-conscious. He quickly tried to fluff the diaper. It didn't work very well, and he was afraid that if he stood it would only look more pronounced. "I sure put you into a difficult situation, didn't I?" Loretta said and added, "I really am sorry." "I guess under the circumstances I'll live," Rupert said as he sat on the large white comforter. It was a satiny nylon almost reminiscent of an oversized baby blanket, and Rupert suddenly wondered if she was influencing any of this. "You're not doing your witch thing, are you?" Rupert asked suddenly. "Absolutely not." "Why?" Loretta asked. It's just that all of a sudden all of this isn't so bad. Not exactly what I would call a normal attitude given the circumstances," Rupert said as he decided to sit there till certain things calmed down. Sitting there in the middle of the blanket in just the t-shirt and diaper made him feel babyish. He almost lifted the pacifier but fought it. "You're in your second diaper, Rupert, so the shock is passing, and you're in a safe place, so the normal humiliation and embarrassment of this isn't there," Loretta said, but added, "and I've discovered another new link in my life." Rupert looked over at Loretta, got up and followed her across the room to the kitchen counter and cabinets. He was desperate to know what she meant, and as he stood there he began pressing against the cabinet as he leaned against the tile. He was wondering how it might feel with her doing it. "I can't catch a break here," Rupert said, and then asked, "This isn't your doing, is it?" "Sorry, no, and stop blaming me for your urges," Loretta said, but then added, "Wish it was because you are pretty damn cute in those diapers, but I promised myself I wouldn't influence you. Other than what I did to prove to you I was a witch, and you ask for that." "I didn't, to be honest. I'm wishing I hadn't," Rupert said timidly as he added, "so I'm cute. I'm not saying anything else. Except that part about you wishing you hadn't." "What?" "Why's that?" Loretta said softly. "It's that old adage. Be careful what you wish for," Rupert said, and then added, "because now I truly miss it, badly. Tell you what, dinner's not ready yet, so do me a favor and go back to the blanket and lay on your back," Loretta said, and then added, "right in the middle of it." "For what?" Rupert asked. "Humor me, will you?" "I want to show you something," Loretta said. "Okay, fine," Rupert said, gently laying back over the blanket. After a time he looked up, rolled to gain leverage, put a hand down shakily and managed to stand before moving, trembling to sit again. "I went too far, didn't I?" "Sorry about that," Loretta said, lying as she added, "I hadn't meant to go that far." "So you really just did that?" Rupert whispered. "I did," Loretta said. "How was that even possible?" Rupert asked in a voice sounding like he'd run a marathon. "As I've been explaining, Rupert, I'm a witch," Loretta said. "Do you believe in love at first? What would that be?" "What did you call it?" "Push," Rupert asked. "No," Loretta said. "Well, it just happened to me," Rupert said. "It is a wonderful purifier," Loretta said, and then added, "but it's not perfect." "What is?" Rupert said. "I wish I knew." "Will, I'm in love." "You won't remember me, I'm afraid." "Why is that?" "My mother, Rupert. You and she are about to meet, and she will not be happy about you knowing all this," Loretta said. "But you'll tell her it's not my fault." Right, Rupert said. I will. She will accept my explanation and she will understand it as well, and all will be right in our world. Trouble is it won't be in yours, Rupert, Loretta said. I don't understand, Rupert said. Rupert, the woman that is coming here, again most likely my mother, is coming here to do a wipe, Loretta said. It's the law. Our law and part of an agreement we have with our government, your government. Law? Wipe? Government. Wait a second, what's a wipe? Rupert said. I guess we're going to be eating a little bit later, Loretta said.